So there was a decision that came down from the Supreme Court yesterday. Can you elaborate for folks and kind of explain what the court was considering in that case?
The case was called Trump v. Pennsylvania. And what the case was considering was whether the Trump administration had the ability to say that employers or universities could restrict access to birth control for their employees if they had not only a religious objection or if they had a moral objection to that type of care. Bottom line is that in a 7-2 decision, it was decided that yes, employees could, for a moral objection, deny coverage for their employees for contraceptive care. It's egregious and it's upsetting.
So does this fundamentally mean that your boss has more control over your personal health care decisions?
It absolutely does. I mean, let's be frank. An employer has absolutely no right to make their employees' healthcare decisions. But now, an employer, a university, a Fortune 500 company could say to their employees, I don't believe in birth control, and so that's not going to be a part of your health insurance benefits, regardless of the employee's personal feelings about it.
So what does that specifically mean for women across the U.S., but specifically here in Pennsylvania, and for Planned Parenthood Keystone's patients?
Well, this is really devastating to people who use contraception across the nation and, of course, in Pennsylvania. In fact, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in her dissenting opinion, stated that as many as 150,000 women could lose contraceptive coverage immediately. Women across the U.S., in fact, the vast majority, use contraceptives, and it can be a significant out-of-pocket cost. Under the Affordable Care Act's preventive benefit, 62 million women got no-cost birth control for the first time.
And in Pennsylvania and a few other states, that have already been some sort of arrangement that the Attorney General is working on to allow employers a way to have healthcare still provided to their employees without having to directly pay for contraceptives. Is that correct?
That is correct. The Attorney General is going to continue to fight for access to sexual and reproductive health care. He has already said that he is going to file for a preliminary injunction and continue to challenge these arbitrary and capricious rules.
So this is obviously a devastating decision, but 2 liberal justices voted for it. So can you explain a little bit more of that and maybe the reasoning behind that?
Certainly. Well, Kagan and Breyer, who have traditionally always been big supporters of reproductive and sexual health care in their decisions, really had a separate opinion from the rest of the conservative majority on the court. And what they said was that the case before the court, considering these administrative rules, the administrative rules were too broad and in fact capricious, and that the Attorney General of Pennsylvania could continue to go over the nature of those administrative rules, but that in fact the executive branch, or Trump, did have the ability to put these narrowly defined objections on access to contraceptive coverage.
Okay. So what was decided here was that the executive branch does have the authority to implement that exemption, but doesn't that mean that the next administration that could, theoretically come in and change that policy, once they come into office?
Yes, absolutely. Another administration may have very different ideas about whether or not employers should control access to contraceptive care. And so, yes, could change those exemptions.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, what can we do about this, or what advice do you have for women who are now faced with being unable to afford their birth control, or the ramifications and fallout from this? What can we do about this, and what are some options that are available for people?
Well, for people who need contraceptive care and who may lose their health insurance should know that Planned Parenthood Keystone is there for them no matter what. That we will help them get the contraceptive care that's right for them and that they need, regardless of their ability to pay. And that is true for Planned Parenthoods across the nation. Because quite frankly, the ability to access contraceptive care has led to women finally being able to make economic gains, educational gains, gains in access to employment opportunities that they never had before. And it is critical time-sensitive care. And sadly, what we know is that lack of access to health care, lack of access to contraceptive care impacts low-income communities and people of color more than they do other communities. And it's just part of the structural racism and inequities that are embedded throughout our society. And at Planned Parenthood, we are not going to let that stand, and we are going to continue to work to break down barriers to access to care. So despite today's terrible ruling, Planned Parenthood Keystone is here for you no matter what. And if you need access to care, don't hesitate to contact us at 1-800-230-7526. And we are here for you